Accepting one's own mistakes is like opening a door that has long been locked, an entrance that has always been there, but that we avoided out of fear of what we might find within. Picture yourself standing before it, feeling the weight of the unknown and the chill of regret. Every mistake you've ever made is there, waiting for you to face it, not with judgment, but with a nearly loving curiosity. Hannah discovered this while sitting under the shade of the old oak tree, facing Master Jean. Until then, all she wanted was to forget. Each time she erred, she carried a mark within herself, hidden deep in her mind. But the truth is, mistakes have a subtle way of lingering, leaving traces on the soul, like ripples in a lake after a stone touches its surface. Running from them is like trying to erase a reflection. It always returns, dancing at the edge of consciousness until we finally accept it. With his calm presence, Jean showed her that a mistake is not a burden to be dragged through life. Rather, it is a map marked with paths, detours, and invisible lessons. Embracing one's own failures is as if you're finally allowing your story to be written with all its nuances. Yes, there are painful moments, stumbles that make us question our worth, but it is precisely these moments that, when welcomed, become the rungs of a ladder that brings us closer to ourselves. In accepting mistakes, you stop being a prisoner of unattainable perfection and find true freedom. It's the first step, perhaps the most challenging, but also the most liberating, because nothing is more powerful than someone who embraces their own journey, with every scar, every flaw, and all the wisdom that came with them. The fear of failure had always been there, like an inseparable shadow following Hannah's every step. It was a silent but deep fear that made her hesitate to take risks, to allow herself to fail, to discover the true colors of life. For her, failure was a threat, something to be avoided at all costs. But in her pursuit of perfection, she didn't realize that she was leaving behind the opportunity to grow, to turn each stumble into a bridge towards something greater. Then, driven by the exhaustion of running and the curiosity to understand her own path, Hannah sought out Master Jean. There, beneath the oak that sheltered him, she found more than an advisor. She found a guide to help her cross through the mist clouding her vision. Master Jean looked at her with eyes that carried not just understanding, but the wisdom of someone who had already walked winding paths and made peace with his own failures. Jean, with gentle yet firm words, revealed to her that failure, far from being an enemy, is a hidden teacher. It doesn't come to paralyze us, but to teach us. Each mistake is like a door, he said, and each door we avoid leaves a part of us unopened. It was then that Hannah began to see failure in a new light. She understood that each failure brings with it a hidden lesson, a chance to uncover a strength she may never have known she possessed. Hannah's journey then shifted from a quest for perfect success to a dance with failure, an acceptance of the unexpected paths life offered her. In each failure, she began to find a new piece of herself, a fragment of wisdom that made her more complete, more human, more alive. And the fear, once so paralyzing, started to lose its grip, turning instead into a push to move forward, to explore the unknown. Hannah finally understood that true wisdom is reached only by those who dare to lose themselves, who do not fear falling, who embrace each scar as part of the journey. And in doing so, she found freedom. The freedom to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to learn, and above all, to become who she truly was. Scars are secret maps, silent traces of battles we fought quietly. Each mark on the soul holds stories of struggles, falls, and rebirths that, though painful, shape us with a unique precision. Why, then, do we run from them? Why do we try to hide these marks as if they were something to erase, something to be ashamed of? Hannah knew this impulse well. Every time a new scar appeared, she would try to cover it, erase its memory, as if she could rid herself of the pain that caused it. But in seeking out Master Jean, she learned that running from her own scars is like rejecting the fertile ground where learning grows. Jean showed her that each mark she bore was, in fact, a source of strength, a reminder of her courage and resilience in the face of challenges. Under the shade of an old oak, Master Gene told Hannah an ancient story. The strongest trees, he said, are those that face the fiercest storms. Their trunks bear marks, their roots grow deeper, and each scar on their bark is proof of their resilience. Over time, Hannah came to understand that her own scars were the same, reminders of inner storms, but also signs of growth that, despite everything, had never ceased. Turning scars into tools for growth is a choice. It's accepting that every pain has something to teach, that each failure leaves a trace which, if observed closely, can reveal new insight. Hannah began to look at her scars with tenderness, like one who finds beauty in the imperfections of an old photograph. And in doing so, she realized that each one spoke not only of a mistake or a loss, but of a quiet resilience, a strength that had sustained her. By ceasing to run away, Hannah discovered that true freedom does not lie in erasing scars, but in honoring them. In realizing that they are what make her complete, strong, and above all, human. Mistakes are like shadows. We can ignore them, look away, but they always walk beside us, silent and persistent, whispering memories of moments we'd rather erase. Each time we try to bury them, they return with an invisible weight, a sense of incompleteness that insists on accompanying us. It's like carrying a suitcase full of stones we can't see, but can feel. Why do they never leave us? Hannah knew well the weight of these memories. Each mistake she made piled up, an invisible baggage she avoided confronting, until she met Master Gene, who, with the serenity of someone who had made peace with his own past, helped her see that her mistakes were not curses but fragments of herself. When you refuse to look at them, he said, they grow heavier. But if you accept them, they transform into lessons. Using your own mistakes to your advantage is like learning a new language, a language that speaks of who we are, where we stumbled, but also where we found the strength to rise. Every mistake has a story to tell, a lesson that only reveals itself when we stop running and begin to listen. Gene showed her that mistakes are, in fact, like compasses. When faced, they point to areas of life where there is room to grow, to heal, to become more complete. Over time, Hannah began to understand that mistakes were not something to be left behind, but were important parts of her journey. She began to welcome these memories, to look at them with the compassion of someone who recognizes that every journey is made of turns and detours. And by doing so, she felt the invisible weight dissolve, giving way to a new lightness, a calm strength she had not known before. Mistakes never abandon us because they are the markers on the path, the guides that lead us to who we can become. When we stop treating them as burdens and start seeing them as allies, we find an unexpected freedom. After all, there is nothing more powerful than someone who turns their scars into wisdom and carries the past with the lightness of someone who has finally learned to love their own story. Failures are like stones cast into a silent lake. The moment they fall, they create ripples that spread, touching distant surfaces and carrying their energy beyond the point of impact. That's what our failures are. Each one creates a movement, a reverberation that carries something deep, something that can transform us if we have the courage to observe these ripples and understand what they reveal. Hannah learned this from Master Gene as she sat by a lake that mirrored the sky in an apparent tranquility. Gene handed her a stone and asked her to throw it into the water. As she watched the ripples, he said, "Every mistake you make is like this stone. The impact seems harsh, but if you look closely, you'll see it spreads, carrying something of itself forward." It was then that Hannah understood the hidden power of each failure. It is the beginning of a movement, not the end. When we allow our failures to become guides, we let each mistake show us what we still need to learn, what we need to change or strengthen within ourselves. The ripples that form reveal paths, reveal directions we might never have explored without that stone's impact, without that broken expectation. Gene taught Hannah that each failure is a compass pointing to areas of life that need our attention, inviting us to grow in unexpected ways. Hannah then began to see her failures with new eyes. Each mistake was no longer a fall, but an opportunity to listen to the ripples it created within her. She realized that by ceasing to resist and accepting these lessons, the waves would calm and the lake of her mind would become clearer, deeper. And in that clarity, she could see the way ahead, guided by the wisdom of the mistakes she once feared. The power of the waves lies in transformation. When we allow our failures to guide us, we discover that they didn't come to drown us, but to awaken us. They are the silent teachers showing us how much we can still grow, how much remains to be explored within us. And by accepting this flow, we find the lightness of someone navigating their journey, driven not by the fear of making mistakes, but by the courage to learn from each wave. What challenges or mistakes in your life are you avoiding? How do you think you could transform them into sources of learning? When you look at the scars you carry, what does each one reveal about your journey? Do they represent moments of weakness, or are they symbols of strength and resilience? Is there any past mistake you still carry as a burden? What would change if you began to see it as an opportunity for growth? When was the last time you allowed yourself to learn from a failure? How did it change your view of yourself and your choices? What has the fear of failing prevented you from achieving? And if you embrace the possibility of failure, what might you discover or accomplish? Imagine your scars as essential parts of who you are. How would your life look if you began to honor them instead of hiding them? What transformation would you like to see in your life if you started accepting your mistakes and imperfections as part of your story? On this journey, we've seen how the path of self-discovery can turn challenges into sources of strength and wisdom. Each step has been marked by obstacles, mistakes, and moments of doubt, but also by a powerful inner transformation. As Master Jean taught Hannah, every mistake and every scar is a door that, when opened, reveals a part of who we truly are. Embracing these moments brings a renewed courage to face life with more compassion and serenity. And now, how about reflecting on your own journey? Think about the challenges you face, the scars you carry, and how these teachings might inspire changes in your life. What challenge in your path could become a source of strength? Share your story in the comments. Together, we can create a space of support and mutual inspiration, where each experience becomes a learning opportunity for everyone. If this message brought clarity or inspiration to your path, like this video, share it with someone who could benefit from this reflection, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on more content about the channel. Want to go further? In the first pinned comment, you'll find a link to an ebook with daily practices that bring peace and understanding to everyday life. To delve even deeper into your journey, watch the recommended videos on the screen. Each one explores a different aspect of this path of self-knowledge and overcoming. See you there as we continue this journey of discovery and transformation together.